I'm AC Brown, and you're listening to Is My Aura On Straight, a podcast designed to help you start living from your core instead of your conditioning. Each week, we'll have deep conversations that will help you create a powerful transformation that shifts your perspective in life, love, and business, with topics ranging from spiritual self-development, human design, astrology, metaphysics, and everything in between. Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Is My Aura On Straight? I am your host, AC Brown. I am your psychic channel and spiritual confidant. And today I have a guest with me, Francesca Hogi, who is America's love coach and the founder of the True Love Society. Welcome, Franny.
Hi, AC Brown. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. And by the topic, everyone, you can see we are talking about how to know when enough is enough. And the reason why I wanted to have Franny on this episode, because she has a lot of milestone moments in her career and life when she had to know enough is enough. And what I want to talk about today is how knowing when enough is enough can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing, because sometimes we push ourselves to limits that our mind, body, and souls just can't take. And sometimes we get fed up with circumstances that don't serve us anymore. So I want to go over, just have a free-flowing conversation about how you can pinpoint where in your life you've had enough and what that looks like for you taking action steps to move past that or move on to the next thing. So I would love to start with you, Franny, and telling us about some of the career moments where you've known enough is enough.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I've had so many. I think I've literally had so many. I've had so many jobs. I've been working since I was 12. I'm like thinking of like, there was that one, but I'll stick with the bigger one. So, the first one happened. So I'm a recovering lawyer. So in my previous life, I was a lawyer and out of law school, I went to work at a big firm in New York, and I had this big fancy job, and it was like, yay, yay, this is supposed to be so great. But I knew that it was enough for me, and it wasn't going to be for me. When I looked at the partners at the firm. And so when I first got there, I was just like, I'm just trying to pay loans. I'm just trying to do this young professional thing. And I was very focused on that. And I wanted it to work, but my heart was not really in it. And I looked at the partners at my firm, and I saw how, they had worked for decades. They made millions of dollars. They had beautiful homes, vacation homes, all of this, but all they did was work. And when they did go on vacation, they were constantly checking in. They're constantly on email. They're constantly responding to messages. And I just remember being like, what am I working towards here? Like, this is not the life I want for myself. What's the point? If the finish line is just more work and more grinding and not being able to relax and enjoy your life, that's not for me. So that was my real, that was the enough is enough moment, like 3 years in, when I saw that.
Oh, wow. That's short. So how long you a practicing attorney for? Just 3 years?
So no, so that was my first enough is enough. So
okay.
I left. There was many AC. Oh Lord, AC.
Pull up a chair, people. Pull up a chair.
There's so many. So it was, so actually it was 3 years when I decided enough is enough. And then I worked another, because I wanted to save money, because I was at that point, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to make movies. That was the dream.
Okay.
And so I saved money so I could have a good cushion to like support myself. So I worked a little while longer, moved to LA, started a production company with a friend of mine from law school. And I'd studied film and TV undergrad, just as a side note. So that it wasn't as random as it might sound.
Right. The passion was still there.
The passion was still there. I love movies. I love, filmmaking, storytelling.
That's so funny that I didn't know that we have sort of the same trajectory, because I winded up after college, undergrad, I wanted to write screenplays. So I would go out to LA to the pitch competitions. And then when I came back, I was like, okay, well, I got to take this serious. So I enrolled in the in NYU School of Continuing Professional Studies for the producer track that they had there. And so I did that, got my certificate there. And then I was like, I'm going to move to California and become a producer and a writer. And then I moved to Maryland. But that's,
That's
yeah.
so funny. Oh my, well, yeah, we need to talk more about this. And
Yes.
I'm actually this year, one of my goals for this year is to rewrite a screenplay that I
That's
wrote years
awesome.
ago. That it's time for me. It's been on my mind, it's been on my heart, it's been unfolding slowly but surely, the story in my
Sometimes it's
mind.
like that. You just
Yeah.
like get that. I'm still in contact with my writing partner, Rob. And we when we went out there the last time we did, we almost sold a few. And it was just like back then it was just so different, because the internet wasn't what it was. And I was telling people, back then, like if you weren't out in LA, like you could be making contacts with someone and have like traction, and then your script might be getting read, and then that person gets fired, and then you have to start all over.
I mean, it's crazy. Well, that was a problem because it was so we started a production company, and the goal was that, we were going to make movies, and we optioned some screenplays, we'd optioned a book, I mean, we had a lot of projects actually.
Wow.
And this was this was 2004 when
Right.
I moved
Yep.
to LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it was very different back then. And I just and we got all these meetings, and there were so many times where I was like, oh my God, this is gonna happen. Like, this is gonna happen.
Yep.
This is out. And then it was just like you said, it's like, somebody gets fired or something else, or priority shift, or it's like actually doesn't fit, so it was just a grind. And I love movies. I love filmmaking. I don't like the industry. I don't like the schmoozy, oh my God, this person is this and they do that. And
Right.
you got to be impressed, and you got to like cut, I just hated that. I hated the celebrity worship, like the whole thing. So I got to a point there where I was like, um, you know, at that point I was working all sorts of jobs. I was like doing wardrobe styling. I was working on music videos. I was like doing these random things to help make money as I
Right.
like
While
living
getting your feet wet in the
while getting
industry.
my feet wet in this industry. And that actually was kind of fun. Like, I like working in production. Like, it was all good, but at the same time I was like, all right, like this is,
Right.
I'm not a kid here, I
Right.
mean,
Exactly. You're like, okay, like,
it's like I'm a young adult, but I'm still like, it's
right.
time for me to like, figure some things out here. So um I basically kind of reached my enough is enough with the film industry, just because it felt like I was getting too far from what I loved about it. Like it was too
Mm,
far from the creativity. It was too far from the collaboration. It was too far from this feeling of like all these people coming together and like making this magic. It was just like too schmoozy, grind, disappointment, who having to care. And I'm very bad at keeping track of people and like names and titles. So,
right. And like,
so
what's your
everybody be
name
like,
again? Like,
so
what's your
everybody,
name? I'm sorry.
everybody, exactly. Everybody like, well, da 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 da, it's CAA. And
I'm like, no, I don't remember
I'm like,
him.
I don't exactly.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
I'm like, I can't keep like who's agent, everybody. I just couldn't keep all that straight. So I was like, okay, you know what? This is okay. I love movies. I don't need to make them.
Mm,
And if I do make them, I don't need to make them like this. And this is not the time. This is not the place. So I left the industry, and I went back into law because I didn't know what else to do.
right.
So like I said, I mean, I could go on. There's so many enough is enough, but I guess
So
to
when you
just
went
fast
back into the
forward,
second phase of law in California, where you had originally came to start this career in the film, what was it like, or what was the feeling that you were feeling being in a law firm? Different from, New York is very different. And what was that like for you?
Yeah. So one thing that I promised myself is that I would not have like a full-time salaried job as a lawyer.
Okay.
So I didn't go back to be an associate. So actually did go work at a firm, but I worked like on a contract basis. So I just was like, I wasn't a full-time employee, which worked for me because I could work for, a month, 2 months, 3 months on a project, make some money and then take a month off, take a 2 months off. So that actually did serve me well for a while. Because once I got into that track of being able to do that and have that flexibility, then I was like, okay, then I was traveling a bunch, I did this for years, AC. Like I would work for like 6 months and then I would take like 2 months off and I would just travel,
Oh, that's
like
fun.
hang out.
Like just do nothing and then go back to work
And
and
then
find
it'd
a
be like,
job.
exactly. Then it'd be like, okay. And then I would call up because I had a good relationship I worked for one company for a long time. And so I would call up my boss and I'd be
Any
like, hey,
work.
boss. And he'd be
Right.
like, hey. And he would give me something. So I had a good situation.
Oh, that
Um, and,
sounds
bec-
lovely.
and because I had that flexibility for a long time, it allowed me to stay um, very aimless for a long time.
Mm. Now that is a big awareness.
Yes.
And what was
So
that like having that awareness and saying, okay, enough is enough. I need to focus.
so once I realized that I needed to focus, I was like, all right, well, this I'm floating through life. I'm not advancing. I mean, I'm surviving. I'm having great adventures. I'm doing awesome things. I'm, traveling the world. I'm all of this, and I was on a whole personal journey, a spiritual journey, a love journey. So I had a lot of internal stuff that I was probably more focused on for a while during that time. But then once all of the internal stuff started to come together more, then it was like, all right, well, now what am I going to do for my work? Because I need to do something that I care about and is exciting and fulfilling, and this is not it. um, so I mean, to be honest, I got stuck there for a while.
What's a
I,
while? Like
I
two
spent some,
years?
I spent some years in the wilderness. Well, okay.
And the only reason why I bring up time is because a lot of my listeners and people are always, and I do it do it as well. We look at time as such an enemy, where
Mm,
the time that we spend through these things and these periods are actually needed. And
yes.
so while you're going through them, you might not realize the time, and you look back like, oh wow, I was there for a long time, but it didn't
Yeah.
feel like it in the moment.
Yeah, no, that's a good question because it made me think. I'm like, how long was it? It was 4 years.
Okay.
It was
In the
four
grand scheme
years.
of things, it's not really that long.
It's not that long, but it's a long time when you're going
Yeah.
through it.
When you're going
Yeah,
through it, it feels like
yeah,
an eternity.
yes. And it felt like I just don't have any idea what to do next. And because, you know, filmmaking that was the dream that I'd
Right.
had for a long time. So then it was like, all right, well, now that that dream is dead, I don't know what my new dream is. So couple of things that helped me. Well, number one, I went on Survivor,
Right. Yes, for
which
all the
was,
Survivor fans who are like, she sounds familiar. She looks
oh my
familiar.
God.
What
Yes.
was what made you apply to Survivor? What was that like?
So I didn't apply for Survivor. I applied because I'm a projector, and you know how we wait for the
Right.
end invitation.
Correct.
So actually, this is a perfect example of being a projector and just manifestation and how things work because I wanted to be on The Amazing Race.
Oh,
Okay. And I loved that show. It was my favorite show.
that would have been
And
so you would have been so good at
I would
that.
have been so good,
Oh my
AC.
gosh. Why? Oh my gosh. This universe really like we know you'd be good at it. That's why we're not going to put you on that show.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, that show was like made for me. I had been,
You probably would have won.
I would have won The Amazing Race. Exactly. And I saw it so clearly, AC. AC, I'm telling you, I would watch that show and I'm like, this show, it was just me. I've been like traveling the world
Right.
since
That's
I was
easy for you. You probably could
since
have
I
did
was
those
20.
challenges with your eyes closed.
I mean, I've jumped out of planes, I've climbed mountains. I was like, I can read a map.
Right.
I can
Right.
I can navigate in countries where I don't speak the language. I've been doing that for years. That show, it was like made for me. And so I applied to be on The Amazing Race, got really close. we got all the way through finals. They
Wow.
took we got vaccinations. They took our
Wow. You
passports
were
to get
there.
visas. Like it was, I was like, holy shit, this is
I'm gonna be
happening.
on the right. I'm gonna be on the Amazing Race.
I couldn't, I was
Yeah,
like,
once they do the passports and the vaccinations, it's like, all right, it's a go.
exactly. We did all the medical exams, we did the psych exams. We were like, everything was ready to go. And I was like, holy shit, my dream is coming true. I can't believe this is amazing. And then at the last minute, they cut us. And I was like,
Oh my God. And so how long from the cut to them giving you the major projector invitation, like, hey, we think you'd be perfect for Survivor?
it was like almost a year.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That shot and
Yeah.
what did that kind of feel like to have this dream of being so close on the Amazing Race? And then what were you doing in the between time from that rejection to that invitation?
When I applied to Amazing Race, I was already transitioning back to the East Coast because I was in this limbo and I was like, all right, let me just go home for a while, reset, like spend some time with my family, spend some time with my friends, like figure out what my next move is. And then that's when the whole Amazing Race thing started happening. So I was like, oh my God. Like, so I went back to New York. They flew me back out to LA to like do all the casting and everything. And so then I was working in New York for a company that I worked for many years, just doing contract legal stuff. And then Survivor called. And it's the same production company, it's the same network. And they were like, we think you'd be amazing on Survivor. We really, like we want to fly you out to LA and da da. And I was like, oh God, no.
I would have said the same thing. I'm like, mm-mm, pass. I'm good. Thank
I was
you.
like, no, no, no. How
Call
about
me
the
when Big
Amazing Race?
Brother,
You
right?
know,
Call me
I'm
for
like,
Big Brother, guys. Pass.
I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't do that either. Actually, that
I
seems
love.
miserable
I
too.
would totally. I would win Big Brother.
Would you? You
Hand,
know what? Yeah,
hands
I've
down.
I've never watched an episode of Big
I
Brother.
used to love Big Brother. I was gonna apply so many times. I was like, no, I'm not ready. I would have won Big Brother or been the evil person on Big one of the other. I know that for sure. I love that game. So
Oh my God, that's
sidebar. So
hilarious.
then you said
So hey,
no.
I said no, but they were very persuasive and they're like, look, it's not, you don't have to commit now, just come
It's
to
fine. Just
LA and like,
come.
and because I'd been through the whole Amazing Race thing, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm not going to get cast on this show anyway.
Right.
So
Let me just go
fine.
on and
Let me
go.
just go and go. So I went and I sailed through casting. I mean,
Of course.
sailed
Of
because
course.
I was like, I don't care.
Right. You didn't care. It was an invitation.
I
So
didn't care.
here's the thing for projectors listening. When and I tell projectors this all the time, when you get invited, it's almost kind of disrespectful because it doesn't matter what you do. If you are invited, the invitation is yours. Green light, it's go.
Yeah.
And so that's what happened
Yeah.
to you. You literally probably were like, here I am. My name is Francesca. What y'all want?
Basically.
And they're like, oh my God, we love her.
Exactly. Like it was like every round of casting, like the producers and the casting, they would all be like, "Oh my God, you're amazing! Like just keep doing what you're doing." And I was like, "I'm not doing anything."
Right. Because I don't want to be, you're like, because I don't want to be here. So whatever.
Yeah. So I sailed through casting. Obviously, got cast on the show. Then I was like, "Oh shit! I guess I have to go do this now."
I guess I have to go now. Oh,
Oh my God. But so I went, it was not good. And
you're like, it was not good
it
for
was
those
not
of
good.
you who
So
watched, right?
yeah, so it was not good. So I came home and I was like, damn it. Well, that seemed like a big waste of time. Like
How long was
I
that
had a lot of regret.
production for from
Um
the time you got there to the time you went home?
yeah, so the game itself is 39 days and
Right.
everybody stays for 39 days and then you go.
Oh, I didn't know that. You
Oh
stay even if
yes.
you get kicked off because you were the
Yes.
first, right?
Yes. Even when you get voted off, you have to
Oh
stay.
shit.
Oh, I know. That's why it sucks. So you're there, it's like you're basically there for like a week before the game starts, and then the game is 39 days, and then we leave like a day or two after that. So however long
Wow.
that is. So it's a while, and it's a while, no phone, no internet, no television, no contact with the outside world. Like literally we'd be like aliens could have invaded New York City and like we
And
wouldn't
you
know.
wouldn't know, especially back then. Oh my gosh. That's weird.
Yeah. So I had a relationship that ended because of Survivor because,
No, because you
yes.
went on Survivor.
Yeah. It was like he just
So,
had a lot of insecurities about our relationship. And it just was like, he just couldn't deal with it. He didn't want me to go. And the thing is, was like, it wasn't like I wanted to go so badly, but I was like,
right.
well,
I
I'm
made
not,
it past. It's a
but
job at this point. Like they
but
hired
also
me.
it was like I can't because his reasoning for me not going, I was like, I can't co-sign this. Like I love you,
What was the
you know.
reasoning,
He
if you
just
don't mind?
he was just insecure. He was like, he's like, what if you just like meet somebody on the show and
Oh
then
my
you
God.
like fall in love on the show
Dude, I'm trying
and
to, it's literally called Survivor. Like, I'm gonna be trying to survive. I'm not thinking about penis. Like, what are you
yeah,
doing?
it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. So anyway, so when I got back, I was like, that was such a waste of everything. Like,
Hmm.
all of this time, like I have nothing to show for it. Like, oh, what have I done? I was totally
So did you
and then
feel at that moment when you got back from Survivor the first time that the first time, did you feel as though when we talk about like not having like have enough is enough, were you then like, okay, now I have to really figure this out because I went to this thing, I spent 50 something days, nothing happened. I got to push myself towards something.
so no, because I was depressed.
Okay. You're like, no, because now I got depressed. You're like, nope, that didn't happen, AC, not then, because I got depressed. Okay. So you got depressed.
Yeah, so I was so this is like year 2 of 4,
Okay.
right? I'd say,
Okay.
right? Or 1.5 of 4. So yeah, I got depressed, didn't know what to do. I was like, and at that point I felt kind of like I felt like a bitter projector. I felt
Mm,
like
that
everything that I have gone
you're
after in
angry
my
at people's
life
success now.
has
You're like,
just
oh, you're
like,
getting married. Well, fuck you. Like,
I mean, I was just bitter. I was like, okay, I went to law school. Why? I
mm.
moved to LA and started a production company. Why? I went on Survivor. Why? Fell in love with this man. Why? Like I was just
A lot
so
of whys blaming, which
a lot of
happens.
yes. So a lot of really just not getting any of it. Just like I don't get it. I don't get why this is happening. I don't know what to do next. I don't know what else to do. I feel like I've tried everything. I was in a bad. It was a dark time.
Oh.
And then unexpectedly, Survivor invited me back for a second season because they'd never done that before. They'd never invited anybody else. They'd never invited anyone back who'd been the first person voted out. So it
Mm.
wasn't something I had even contemplated as a possibility. So when they called me and invited me back, I was like, "Are you serious?"
Like, why? Like, you saw what happened. You seen the footage. Why do you want me
Exactly.
to come back?
Exactly. I was like, and then, and again, I was like, I don't want to do that again. That was miserable, right? But I'm like, okay, this is happening for a reason. This is an invitation, and this is long before I knew anything about,
Right.
human design. But I was like, this is an invitation that an opportunity that a lot of people would like give anything for, and it's falling into my lap, and that must be doing that for a
Right.
reason.
It's
So
again,
like,
like it's happening again.
so let
So,
me, and it can't be any worse than the first time. That's the other thing I said. So, and
right.
maybe I win $1 million. So the universe was like,
Tricked you. Oh my
oh,
gosh.
honey, the lessons are not done, honey. This is just starting.
Oh my
So
gosh. So you said, all right, another invitation.
I said another invitation because I just, at that time I was single. I was working a job that was perfectly fine. I mean, I was making like a decent living and all of that. And I could still like travel and take time and all of that. And it was like, you know, but it was still, I was aimless. So I was like, all right, well, maybe this will spark something.
Maybe something will happen.
Something will happen. I don't know what. Maybe something will happen.
Something's
So
gonna happen, right?
something happened. So I went back. I got voted off first the second time. And I was like, okay. Then I was mad.
Right.
Then I was like, okay, now,
Right. Somebody owes me an explanation.
now I'm gonna figure this shit out. Like then I was really motivated. Like I
And
was like,
what kicked in the motivation? Was it the fact that you had got kicked off again, or that you had relived sort of those feelings again about you kind of being there, being away, all of that stuff? Like what
It
was
was everything. It was everything. I was like the fact, just the odds. First of all, I was like, I'm a person, well, not anymore because I haven't exercised in a year, but in general, I mean, I was, an athletic person. I'm a very social person. I've always
right?
been,
You're intelligent, you're
I'm always
smart.
been
So it's
like,
right.
so to me, it was like everything that I took for granted. Like, I'm smart, I'm social, I'm athletic, like everything, everybody was like, who cares? We're voting you out. And it was just so like, it was like an existential crisis because I was just
Mm,
like, what am I missing here? Like, this is just
right.
so, it felt like this experience is just so,
It almost sounds like it was almost like gaslighting in a way. Cause like
yeah.
you're marketable, you look good because we asked you back twice. Like you have a personality, you have all of these great things, but we don't want you.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? I'm confused,
Yeah,
guys. Like,
exactly.
hello.
Exactly. So it was just really confusing. I was just like, I don't understand what is happening. Like, I just don't. So I was like, I got to figure it out because I need to change the narrative. My life story cannot be.
Right. I got kicked off of Survivor twice
I
the first
can't be,
time.
yeah, I can't be the first, I can't, that can't just be it. Like, that can't be it. So I was like really motivated to figure it out. And then when I got back from filming Survivor, I wound up meeting a guy and we had this like whirlwind romance and he flew me to London for our first date and
Oh,
we were just like having
wow.
this like we had this like amazing like passionate love affair which was very exciting. And I was like, oh my god, maybe he's the one. So for a minute I got a little distracted by the relationship because I was like, well,
Mm,
maybe this is the thing that's going
this
to
is
be
what my
like,
life is going to be. I'm going to
this
be
is what my life
this
is going to be.
amazing wife, girlfriend with this
Yes.
person, world's win amazingness.
Yes, exactly. I was like, this is what it's going to be. And then my brother died very suddenly.
Mm,
And then, yeah, it was just, I mean, oh my God, it was such a crazy time. Anyway, so this was year three and a
okay.
half, I'd say by this point. Okay. So come back from my second season of Survivor, fell in love, my brother dies, and I was like, life is really too short because you could
Right. You've
literally
had
die
all of
tomorrow.
these really sudden things with life and family, and now another relationship. And so you had like life, career, family, all of these enough kind of moments
Yes, yes,
in
yeah.
this time. And so after that, your brother dying, the relationship ending, Survivor second time, was there still like a little bit of like, we're still not there yet? I still
Oh
haven't
yeah,
had
there was
enough.
there
Okay.
was there was a lot of like, okay. So then at that point, so I literally was like, okay, enough is enough. We gonna figure this shit out. And I was like, okay, universe, I'm open, but I'm gonna figure something out. So I started to work with what I knew. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but this is what I know. I know I want to work for myself. I know I don't want to be tied to an office. I don't want to be working, even though I had this good setup with work where I would work on
Right. You do
projects
what you
and
wanted
stuff,
to do. Right.
and I would take time off. But when I was working, I was working. Like when I was working like 50, 60 hours a week.
Wow.
It was like hard. It was intense, like short bursts of like intense work. And then I would have a break. But I was like, I can't, that just being in an office, like on a computer, chained to a desk for 10, 12 hours a day. Like I did that for so long, AC. And I was like, I know this is what I don't want to do. So I really started with a lot of lifestyle things. Like I started with knowing like, all right, I don't mind working hard, but I need to work for myself because I don't need to put in this much work for anybody else,
Right.
especially not to just like make some, corporation richer. So there was that. um, and I knew that whatever I did, I just needed to be like excited about it and feel like
Mm,
I'm like, because what I did before, it was like I was perfectly good at my job. I was good at my job, but lots of people could do that job. And I really felt like, and I think, I've talked about this also as projectors, like we just have this desire to innovate. We
Right.
have this
Yeah.
desire
Oh my
to like,
gosh. Yes. It's like
you know,
ingrained in us. We just want
it's
to do something
so,
new and different.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. So I think for a while I settled for the fact that I had a lifestyle that was different because I did, because especially when I first moved to LA and like all my friends were like, I was 28 or 29 when I first moved to LA, and like all my friends, like people were starting to buckle down in their careers and advance, and I was like, I'm like,
Like
you
I'm
know,
having fun.
I'm like
Yeah.
in LA and I'm like hanging out at Prince's house and I'm like gonna be
Right.
like, I'm like, I was having this whole like LA, like, whatever
Experience. Yes.
experience, and all my friends are like having babies. Well, not all my friends, actually. My closest friends weren't doing that, but like a lot of my friends from like law school were like
Right. They were on that kind
married
of
and like,
trajectory of like law school,
yeah.
husband,
Yes,
family,
exactly,
kids.
exactly. And I was like, and I'm like, oh Lord, girl, no. I
Like,
just
oh
got
girl, y'all look stressed. I'm jet
exactly.
setting.
I'm jet setting. I'm dating all the boys. I mean, it was actually a lot of fun. In that, like on a personal level, it was a really good time. But I had amazing experiences and growth, and had, I developed so much confidence in myself because I used to like think boys didn't like me, and then I was like, oh shit, lots of boys like me.
Right.
So I was having all this fun and boys and da da da. But again, it was like, okay, enough is enough, because this only goes so far, right?
Right.
And not fulfilling anymore. So fast forward back to, after Survivor, and I'm like, okay, these are the things I know. Want to work for myself, want to do something I care about, can't be chained to a desk. I need to be flexible. Don't know what that's going to look like. But
Mm.
as the universe would have it, once you start to get clear, and I was writing it
Mm-hmm.
down, I was like, okay, this is what I want. In, 5 years, I want to have this much money. I want to have this kind of, and then I wound up just hearing about a matchmaker named Paul Brunson, who is a black male matchmaker. And I was like, there's a black male matchmaker? Who is this person? Because I always just loved meddling in people's love lives. I love talking about love. I've been on my own love journey that had been a focus of mine. Never occurred to me that like there was a career for me in the love industry, because I didn't even know that was a thing that existed.
Right.
um,
Right. I just found out, people, there is matchmaking school. Ta-da.
yes,
I had no
exactly,
freaking clue.
exactly,
They
exactly.
have matchmaking awards every year. I did not know that. Now I
Exactly.
know.
Exactly. I know there's this whole industry. So so I was following him on Twitter. I started following him on Twitter, and he tweeted he was going to be speaking at the Matchmaking Institute's annual conference.
I had
And I
no
was
clue.
like, what? What? Wait, what?
What is
What?
this? A
What is this?
matchmaking institute, a conference, awards, certifications.
I
Right.
was like,
Exactly.
are you kidding me? And so, and I remember, and I should find this tweet. I tweeted, I responded to his tweet, and I was like, oh my God, I want to come to that. And he said, you should come. And I was like, I will.
You're like, okay, I'm gonna be there.
I was like, he was just being nice to a stranger on the internet. But I was like, I took that as an invitation. Again,
Right.
didn't know about human design, but I was like, he said you should come. And I was
You're like,
like, yes.
sure, this feels great. All right, I'll be there. Where's it at?
So I went to the Matchmaking Institute conference, and I met all these matchmakers. And I was like, these are just regular people, and it's their job to help people find love. Like, what?
This is
My mind was
amazing.
blown. And I'm like, I love love. I love dating. I love meddling in people's love lives. I love talking about this. And that's something that I naturally did. I had a dating advice blog back when I lived in LA, the first time I lived in LA, just because that was just, I want to talk about dating. And it never occurred to me like, oh, maybe there's something here.
Something there because I'm talking about it from a very abstract kind of place, not just my life. And this could be a
Yeah.
career.
Yeah, it never occurred to me. So that's always my advice for people too, is like when they're trying to figure out what to
I
do, it's
always
like,
follow the clues,
yeah, it's just
people.
like follow the clues. It's like, what are the things that, because the reason I started writing about dating is that somebody invited me to be part of her blog. And she was like, oh, it was a blog. It was like all black women. And she's like, it's just want like interesting black women. You can write about whatever you want to write about. You want to write about the law. I was like, oh, hell no. I'm not
Like,
writing about the law.
no. What are we gonna talk
I was
about?
like, I'm not doing that in my spare time. That's not happening. And she's like, whatever you want. And I was like, well, the only thing that I would want to write about is dating. But I mean, it's not like I am like any authority. I just like talking about dating. And she was like, write about dating. I was like, okay. So I always like tell people, like, if somebody just said to you, like, okay, here's an opportunity, we're going to give you a show. We're going to give you a blog. We're going to give you a podcast. Like, what would that be about? And don't try to be
Mm,
practical about it. Like, what would make money? Or just be like, what would you be personally excited and interested to talk about?
right.
And that's just like, so because if somebody had said that to me, I'd have been like, well, dating, but then what do I do with that? And then it's like, well,
Right.
forget about that, because you can figure all
Because we're
that
always
out.
trying to figure out what this is going to lead to or what the expectation is. And it's just like, well,
Exactly.
just start from a place of because you really like talking about it.
Exactly. And and I know it's so hard to like trust, especially if somebody's like, the thing I'm really interested in is like, I don't know, miniature, tchotchkes or whatever. It's like, or like, I don't know, miniature pigs. It's like, well, don't worry about it. Like, if you love miniature pigs, you love miniature pigs for a reason. So
Right.
like,
It'll all unfold and
it
work
will
itself out.
actually unfold. So I went to the conference and I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm going to do.
Like, I'm going to be a
I'm
matchmaker.
going to be a matchmaker. I'm going to introduce everybody to their perfect partner. It's going to be amazing. And so I got my matchmaking certification, went to matchmaking school.
Wow. I think that's so amazing because I'm all about certifications and I had no clue that there were matchmaking
um,
certifications.
there's matchmaking certifications. And I went on Facebook and I said this again, very projector style, made myself visible. I was like, hey, everybody, I'm a matchmaker now.
Oh God, if I could just see that post, like, and they're like, okay, girl, like, thanks for telling us.
And everyone was like, what do you mean?
What? I'm confused. Excuse me?
So I wish I could say that everybody was like, oh my God, yes, this is amazing. But everyone was like, congratulations, I guess.
Right. Like, what does this mean for us? Like, you just told us why.
So that's another thing that I always tell people is like, don't expect if you're waiting for everybody to get on board and to co-sign your dream before you follow your heart, like you're like, just don't do that, because you just never. And I'm just so glad that I was at such a kind of like breaking point in my life where I was like, I gotta do something else. So like, this is it. This is the thing I'm excited about. This is what I'm gonna do. And I don't care what anybody says about it. Like, this is what I have to try to do. And so I started that. And then I started my own matchmaking business. I started working for Paul and his company. And then, there's so many transitions. So then after doing matchmaking for a year and a half and taking years off my life, because it's like the world's most stressful job, as it turns out. Because people are just picky as hell and not often very realistic. And they feel like, oh, now that I'm paying you money, I can just give you.
Now you can go and create a man for me, Francesca.
Exactly. Like, he's going to look like Idris Elba. He's going to have the heart of Nelson Mandela. It's going to be.
Wait.
He's gonna have the athletic build of like, it was just too ridiculous. And I was like, okay, I can't.
That is not Idris Elba with the heart of Nelson Mandela, child. Lord. Oh my God. I can't even imagine what that is. I don't want that man. Don't send me that man, please.
It's too much. Oh
my God.
So I started coaching really out of necessity, because it was like the people that we could coach, we could match. And the people that we couldn't coach, we couldn't match.
You can't match them, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I was like, well, the coaching is what it's all about. So it was enough with enough. Enough was enough with matchmaking. It was hard, but it was also, fun at times. And it was such an out of the box experience, like being a matchmaker.
But it got you to where you are now.
Totally. And so I've just accepted the fact now that like my life and my career, it's always just going to be constantly unfolding. And
right.
I'm like,
and it sounds like that it's a culmination of a lot of enough is enough kind of moments to get you where you need to go.
Absolutely.
And I think those listening need to understand that sometimes these moments are not to like tear us down like we think they are in the moment, but look at where you are now, because you are a phenomenal love coach. And I say that as having experienced Franny. And for those listening, please hire her if you are. And I think what's good to know is that your perspective on love and dating is very unique to where when we had our session and I was, giving you my list, making up my Idris Elba / Nelson Mandela, that you made one thing that nobody's ever made me think about is how do you want this person to be in a relationship? And I was like, excuse me? What? I never thought about how these qualities actually showed up in an actual relationship. I was just like, no, if they have them, that's it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, no, but how do they act with those qualities in the relationship? What does that look like? And you have this, and Franny also, since she's also a human design expert and she knows about human design, she has that like perspective as well. But you have this philosophy called raw, which I want you to break down for people because I just had an experience, which we'll talk about offline about.
Ooh.
And somebody claimed that they were willing, which is the W, and they actually weren't. But go ahead.
Oh, that's sometimes they do. Yes. So raw, ready, able, willing. And this is what I tell people. I'm like, if you were dating, looking for a relationship, if you're just looking for fun, this does not account. And that's fine if you're at a place in your life where you're not looking for anything serious. I've been there. And that's great. And I had a good time. But when you're looking for a relationship, you're looking for somebody who is ready, able, and willing, all three. And you yourself also need to be all three of these things because we can't ask for other people to show up in relationships in ways that we can't show up ourselves. So that's another pitfall a lot of people fall into. They're like, I want somebody who like loves and accepts me for exactly who I am. And it's like, are you able to do that for other people?
Right. We're like, well, no, not really. Not at this time in my life.
Exactly. Not now, but I want them to do it for me. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. So ready is just as simple as someone who can articulate, I am ready for a relationship. That's it. It's not a relationship with you. It's just, I am at a place in my life where I am ready for a relationship. And this means you can articulate this and you're looking for people who can also articulate that, right? So, and if they can't articulate it, then they're not ready. And if they can articulate it, it doesn't mean necessarily that they are ready, but at least it's a step in the right direction. That's why I say we need all three of these things. So if somebody says, I'm ready for a relationship, okay, great, check. Now moving on. Doesn't mean, okay, this is the one. It's like, okay, that's a good start. Then you move to able. And able is more complicated because it's not just a question. It's not just, I'm ready for a relationship. It's actually demonstrating that someone is available for a relationship emotionally. They're able to risk emotional pain. They're able to prioritize another person. They're able to make time and space in their life for another person. And these things, again, are independent of you. So even though as you're dating somebody, you're observing it in relation to you, but it's like, it's about taking a step back and not being like, well, this person likes me enough to be available. You know what I'm saying?
They have to be available in general.
They have to be available in general. They have to be in a place in their life because what fairy tales and especially romantic comedies, they're
the best.
They're so much fun, but this is like this is the real downside of romantic comedies is that they most of them reinforce this narrative that if somebody is unavailable and they really like you, they'll become available.
That's not true. Franny taught me
not
that.
True.
Franny taught me that, guys. That's not true.
It's not true. Because we can only receive like Amari. So our friend Amari Ice, as you know, Amari is also amazing. He's an amazing matchmaker, coach. And my favorite quote from him about relationships is the reason that people are single or will soon be single again is because they are trying to have a level 25 relationship with level 3 skills. Right?
A lot of us are level 3s.
I've been level 3. I've been there.
I'm past level 3. I don't know.
You're way past level 3. You're way past level 3. But I've been at level 3, right? And I've been level 3 even like, I want my soulmate. And it's like, I wasn't ready for that. I couldn't receive that, right? So available is really, able, sorry. So ready, able, willing. So able is really about that availability. It's about demonstrating that. And and really not making it personal to me or to the person that you're dating, but really about like, these are just the skills that I have cultivated. This is a place where I am. And it doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you have to have, no fear, and you're totally vulnerable, and you're totally like, it doesn't mean we don't have to be perfect, but the more we can move in that direction, the better. Right.
Right.
And then willing, now this gets into, is this person demonstrating that they are willing to put in consistent effort to move things forward with you specifically? And
Right.
sometimes this can
They
be
are not.
very confusing, right?
Right.
Um, well, and sometimes it can be confusing because because somebody could be pursuing the hell out of you, and they could be saying that they're ready. So they could say the ready. So you could have the ready and you could have the willing, but you don't have the able. And that's really
Mm,
confusing, right?
yeah, that sounds like it would suck.
It sucks. I've been there. Have you been there?
I mean, yeah, I probably have. Yeah, I've been with probably all of them, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna make it up in my mind that you fit it, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been that person who said I was ready
Right.
and I was willing, but I wasn't really able, right? And
Yeah.
so I wasn't able to really be vulnerable. I wasn't able to really co-create emotional safety with another person because I didn't have that level of emotional safety within myself.
Mm,
And so when I talk about emotional safety with other people, that might seem more obvious. It's like, okay, you're somebody who respects your emotions. They don't ignore them. They don't shame you. They don't gaslight you. They don't tell you you're wrong for feeling how you feel, right? Like just basically just accepting and validating another person's emotions. Doesn't mean that you're like saying that they're right. It's just saying like, I understand your perspective. It's just like, just safety. It's just a baseline of like
right. Right.
respect and safety. But how often do we shame ourselves for what we feel, or tell ourselves we shouldn't feel the way that we feel, or, all of these things that if somebody else were to talk to us the way that we talk to ourselves,
Right.
right? We'd be like, no, that's not okay. So again, we don't have to be perfect, but the more we can cultivate that faith and that trust and that safety, that acceptance within ourselves, then it's like so much easier to, do that for other people. But when we try to do that for other people without doing it for ourselves first, it doesn't work. So we don't have to be perfect, but we do need to be aware, and we need to understand that it all starts with us. And the more that we're able to love ourselves and truly believe that we're worthy of having the love that we want, and that we have the resilience to weather the ups and downs and to bounce back from pain, because that's really what gets us stuck, is that we think that like, if I get hurt, I'll never recover. And
Right.
the reality is you absolutely will. We have, our capacity to love is infinite, and therefore our capacity to heal is infinite. And it doesn't mean that there's no way to guarantee in this life that we don't have pain, disappointment, heartache. And even if you meet the love of your life tomorrow and you spend the next 40 years
Right. You
together
still will experience all of that other
blissfully
stuff. Right.
happy, you're still going to have to say goodbye one day. You're still
Mm,
going to, quote unquote, lose that person. Right. And I say quote unquote because like, you don't ever really lose anybody, because
right. Yeah, because
the
of
love
love
doesn't
and
go
everything.
away, but you know what I'm saying. Um,
No,
so,
yeah. This
so,
is
uh,
great. I know we could talk all day. I know because I know that. But what I love about this is that for everybody listening, Franny's enough moments would not have, if she didn't push past those, she would not be where she is today. Because
yes,
as
absolutely.
from her story, you can see, you can hear all of the times where you might have given up and she didn't. So that's good. And I think just it's really important for us to like kind of come to an awareness and know that having these moments where enough is enough and all of that stuff, you are moving towards something, you just don't know it. So it's about you trusting, because if you
Yes.
didn't trust or have that like, well, I guess so. You know, You never would be where you are, and you're doing so many amazing things.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and we just had
Yeah.
the True Love Summit on Clubhouse, which was amazing. It took us out. We were super exhausted. Franny was like,
It took us out.
oh my gosh. I was like, I couldn't even move my body. I was like, what's going on? I got to sleep. But you're just doing so many amazing things. And I just want to thank you so much for coming on. And I hope everyone listening just really knows that your enough moments lead you to something really great and something good. Is there
Yes,
anything else you'd like
absolutely.
to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just that. It's just knowing that we can't know how our lives are going to unfold. And yes, there's anxiety in that, but there's also excitement and possibility in that. And the more that we can exercise that trust muscle, that faith that, like, okay, this is happening for a reason. If I follow my heart, that's happening for a reason. And when I say that, I mean, the caveat is when it comes to dating, there can be other things going on that
Right.
are maybe leading you into a pattern that maybe doesn't serve you. So there's always that possibility. But the more self awareness that we can have, the more kindness we can cultivate towards ourselves, the more compassion we can cultivate towards ourselves, the easier it is to kind of navigate all of the uncertainty of life. But the uncertainty, that's part of the journey. So we just gotta
Right. We just got to go with it.
we just gotta go with it. We just gotta go with it. But yeah, the thing that I'm most proud of in my life is the fact that I've never just fully given up. I've gotten stuck. I've been
Right.
in the rut.
Right. Been in the trenches and the paint.
I've been in the trenches. I've been in the, like, I had no idea what to do next place. I've been there. I know how that feels. I know how that feels when it comes to romance. I know what it feels like to have my heart broken. I know what it feels like to think I met the one and then I wound up, like, totally in a puddle of tears and like, how has this happened to me again? I know those lows very well. Um, and I think just it's just the fact that I've been like, well, I have to try. I got to try
Right.
to here. And just that trying I mean, the trying is the doing,
Yeah.
and that's what has served me really well in my life.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Franny, my friend. And to
Thank you,
those
Amy.
of you, all of her stuff will be in the show notes. And I want to thank you all for listening again to another episode. And make sure you all have an amazing day filled with good vibes and great energy. And remember, don't let anybody fuck with you. Bye bye. Thank you for listening to another episode of Is My Aura on Straight? This podcast was produced by Callie Green and edited by Adam Ross. If you loved this episode, please make sure you subscribe and leave a comment. We love to hear from you. Also, make sure you're following me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Until next time, bye-bye.